Hey, what's up, DNC Performance? We are on another project. We got Sen, S-E-N-N, 69 Impala. He bought off of a gentleman that had like a shop and his mechanic built the car, so he doesn't know really a lot about the car. The owner of the car really didn't know much about it. But what we found so far, it is a 5.7 aluminum block, like an LS1. It has the Edelbrock E-Force supercharger, vintage air, Wildwood master cylinder. I believe Wildwood brakes all the way around. Has a quick performance 9-inch, but we have no idea what gear ratio is in it. Has a monster transmission 4L60, fairly decent dual exhaust, looks like Flowmasters. Complete airbag kit all the way around all four corners, which has like the level ride, so you can kind of set the height and hit the button and go. Overall, it's actually a really nice car. There's a few issues like the billet hood hinges. If you hook these shocks up like they are, the hood doesn't shut. It shuts, but the hood sits quite a ways up. The owner showing the car when he was selling it wrinkled the hood a little in the corner. Not a huge deal. There's one little mark there. It's not too bad. But the interior is really clean on the car. It's really nice car. So the issue he was having is car just ran like crap. So he brought it to me originally. I pulled the file, noticed that the map sensor was still set as a stock 1-bar map sensor, like the factory sensor. And this actually, the E-Force, has a Bosch 0261230042 map. It's a dual sensor. It does intake temps and map sensor. So you get the intake temps, at the supercharger. The way they had it was they had a regular intake temp sensor out here. The MAF sensor is over here. Then they had just really bad job of wiring. It wasn't completely utterly butchered, but as I start digging in, I find more and more kind of butchered areas. They left like all the factory connectors up here, which it's kind of cool because you can unplug everything, but all of these like C1s and all this stuff, like this was unused. These are all plugged in. This was all plugged in. In reality, you're only getting, I think, 3 or 4 wires out of this whole set of plugs. So I ended up just ditching this harness because I started finding more and more like the oil pressure sensor. It's a 2-wire sensor with 1 wire in it, or it might be a 1-wire sensor. Yeah, it's a 1-wire sensor. But it was cut, and like all these cheap splices that are put in, just random crazy wires kind of cut and left. Like over here, there's these 3, no idea what those are for. Just some more here, no idea. It's old and crusty. It's like an OEM harness. It's not like an aftermarket standalone harness. So it had, this is basically everything I pulled off. It did have a really nice Eaton fuse panel with not breakers, what do you call it? Relays in it. And they labeled it. So they had PCM, ignition, trans, PCM, O2, accessory, AC, pump, fuel pump, and fan. The bad thing is that the fan, right? So you got your radiator fan, and it's a nice fan. It's a big ass fan. It's on a really big radiator, really nice. But then what they did up front was they added 2 more fans, and these are like 12-inch fans. I would assume to push some air through the intercooler. They kind of just made a chintzy bracket. That's fine. Top and bottom are mounted. They're not going nowhere. That's all good. Problem with all of it was all tied to one relay. That was up here. Then the other relay was actually unused, and that was these 2 right here. So they didn't even have relay plugs. They just had the female spades that push on one by one, and half of them are falling off. You can kind of see how half of them are already falling off, because these spades, they kind of spread and just get beat up over time. So I don't do them like that. I actually buy like terminal pieces, these terminal pieces, and I build all my relays. I don't think I have any more relay plugs for some reason. I might down there in the box, but I buy the actual plug that goes on the relay, and then I fully build them out. That way I'm not tying a bunch of wires into wires and doing all kinds of weird stuff. But there was a lot of weird stuff done. They had this battery post mounted on the fender, and then underneath they had 9 wires coming off of it. They just went everywhere. Things like this, like for the OBD, there's about, I think this is the OBD. Yep, the OBD port. You can see it's red and blue and black, like big gauge, and then you go over to the port and it's all small gauge. Which now that I'm looking at it, it's kind of funny that there's no green wire in there. So, okay, so they tied the 2 grounds, 3 grounds, 2 grounds together. Okay, yeah. So the blue one, I assume, is actually the green. Then it goes over to the firewall, and it changed color again. It's in here somewhere. In here somewhere. Yeah, anyways, it's in here somewhere. But you know, things like this, like they wired these plugs, which is a good idea. They wired all these plugs to go over. You know, then you got this big plug with 1 wire and a speedometer wire. Those actually plugged in to those ECU plugs over there. So you had these 3 with just these wires that basically feed power. And AC stuff, speedometer. These are actually, one of them's the OBD port, a green one's the OBD port, maybe that green with the white is the OBD. I think these 3 were the OBD, but then you had 2 pinks that were unused. You got a bunch of pinks over here, a bunch of AC stuff, a pink with a speedometer. So it's just a bunch of unnecessary stuff that was just absolutely stuffed down over there. And then the ECU was mounted on the firewall, so it kind of crunched all the wires together. It's just a big pile. I can try to insert some pictures. I'm not very good at that, but I'll try to insert some pictures of the before, because I've already stripped everything out. You can see like those 1, 2, 3, 4 wires. Those 4 wires right there lead into the Dakota Digital dash. It's a pretty nice dash actually. I'm not a fan usually of the Dakota Digital stuff, but this one's actually nicer in that the gauges are pretty wide separated. So this Dakota Digital, this is a part of it. There's another one somewhere else. There's just this is the heater control. Then this is the OBD port for the Dakota Digital, which he said it feeds through the OBD port, but I'm not sure of that. Maybe the RPM does, but the speed is off that white wire. Oil pressure didn't work. Water temp, they have another wire coming in for that. Volts would come right off the OBD port. The battery wires off the OBD port. Fuel should come through the car itself, from like the tank. That necessarily shouldn't run through the ECU. So I gotta look up the Dakota Digital stuff, because I really do need to find out like what wires are what over here. There's just a bunch of wires. I most likely will take this pile of wires out, kind of see what's what. If I can shorten a bunch of them, I probably will. It looks like they're all for the AC stuff, or I'm not even sure what that is. That might be more, yeah, that's vintage air. So this is for the AC stuff. So I'll try not to mess with too much of it, but if I can shorten it, you know, it would be kind of nice, because he does have a really, really nice controller. It's up on the top, like a digital controller for the vintage air. It does all kinds of stuff. But this harness here, this one here, I believe, yeah, this one here is actually those wires that are outside. Yeah, these ones. So I need to pull them in anyways, because we're not going to use all of this. And then we ordered a new harness. Oh, I am all over the place today. We ordered a new harness. So it is one of those cheaper Amazon harnesses. This one's actually mine that I got for the Magnum, which, yeah. So I just pulled it out to kind of get an idea on the length of it, you know, where things kind of go. And from what I see is I'll be able to take the harness and kind of shift things around. Now I might need to extend like the OBD port on it. These are meant to go through the firewall, keep everything, but these are the wires that I need here. This should have, you know, this should have everything in it. Speed, RPM, OBD, not OBD, whatever else, coolant, whatever else should be in these wires. I have the diagram right there. So I just kind of laid it out to see, okay, you know, how much of a harness am I going to have that I have to kind of hide or mount or something like that, because we have more or less the same harnesses coming. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to string the harness on the engine, clip in like the injectors and stuff, get an idea where it goes. The oil pressure I'm going to have to change. Like a lot of people say that these don't have oil pressure sensors in them, but I saw the one that we ordered has an oil pressure sensor labeled on the diagram. This one might not have it. That's knock. So yeah, this one might not have it. Knock. That looks like cam. There's power wires. I don't know. Injectors. There's another one over there. O2. So this one might not have it. But the harness that we ordered definitely has it. And it has the alternator with the coolant. That's TPS and the IAC. So yeah, this harness actually doesn't have the oil pressure sensor, so I'm kind of surprised at that. But the one that we picked has it. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to look at the LS1 style, which is this one here. I'm going to have to look at this because with the supercharger, you can't mount the oil pressure sensor on the back of the block like where it is on a Gen 3. It actually blocks it off. I don't know. Yeah. You can see there's a block off next to the cam sensor. There's not enough space to put the oil pressure sensor in there. So somebody, I guess who built the car, you can see it down there in the bottom. Somebody already moved it to the front of the block. So that I'll have to do that. Which isn't a big deal. None of that stuff's a big deal because I have to change most likely I'll have to change the MAF plug. Now the one that we ordered too, see, like this is the MAF sensor. Yeah, this is the MAF sensor. So the one that we ordered shows a MAF and intake temp separate. So it should already be set up for this style MAF plug, the 3-wire, and then kind of set up for this style where you plug it in here. I need to take that intake temp, I believe the reference line, and I just need to tie it into this, which is from Edelbrock. This goes on to the map / intake temp sensor, like so. So that goes on there, and then this plugs in to the stock map sensor. So it's like a conversion harness or whatever you want to call it. And then it has one single wire for the intake temp, which they sent me a diagram for that. They sent me a bunch of stuff for that. So I should be able to wire that in. I just been kind of cleaning stuff up. Like I changed the throttle cable tab to the correct style adjustable tab. It had where, let's see if we can find it in this box. Don't see it. It's in here somewhere. It's like one of those big round bulbs, and they just had it. There it is. They had this, and it was just pulled out to the side at the hole and tightened. So, and the cable was really, really long. Like this piece came all the way out here and dragged down and then came up. So I shortened the whole thing. He also mentioned that it felt like the pedal was loose. So I had to climb up in there, and there's those 2 bolts on the firewall that tighten the gas pedal. So now the gas pedal's pulled up a little bit higher, and it's tighter. The bracket is tight on the firewall. This is just bushing play. So hopefully now what I have to do is check and make sure it feels like we're getting full throttle, but I just have to make sure that we get full throttle. And then I'll probably come in here, just kind of clean some of this up, get it up out of the way. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for now. So until the harness comes, there's really very little I could do until I know exactly where the harness is going to lay out, where I'm going to put the ECU. My idea is to put the ECU over here and string the harness up and over the fender well. It's kind of my idea, you know, and then have it come out back there, kind of go down and go up to the engine. So that's, I'm hoping it all works out. Really hoping. But it's a long-winded yippity yap video. That's all I got for now. That's what we're working on right now. So I am gonna keep doing little bits and pieces. I relocated the starter wire, or the batteries in the trunk. See the big blue cable It's on the floor right now. So it was up here on that big lug. You can kind of see there's a bolt hole there, and there was another one there. So I put this P-clamp to hold the AC lines away from pushing out. They were kind of pushed out. But I took all this off, dropped all the cables down. The other big issue with everything that led me down this rabbit hole basically is this speaker wire. They use this Audio Legion ultra flexible high current speaker cable on literally everything. Like you can see, this is the battery feed for these two relays, because they're actually jumping the relay, which is wrong. So they have it on the center post here, which is when this relay is not in use, this center post is live, which activates this relay. That's a really weird way to do it. Yeah. So, well, I got rid of the evap purge solenoid. It's not being used. No point in having it on there. It actually pushed on the intake right back there where that cap is, and then it was just kind of laying over here. So I took that off, put a cap on it. I got a zip tie to cap, but I'm not too worried about that right this second. Because that's on the suction side, so it shouldn't be an issue. I mean, yeah, other than the only other issue that I found, see the bolt right there? That is the steam port. It has the steam port in the front and the steam port in the back, and both of them are blocked off. Shouldn't be that way. I know some people will argue it, but I'm a firm believer in running the steam port. So what I might do, because I'm going to hook up his heater hoses, so I have that one fitting, which was up top, but I moved it down. I've got to get a different one because all I got is a 45. So I think I need either a straight, and I may just end up cutting that one and welding the two back together. But it needs to be more of a shorter straight fitting or a longer 90. So I might be able to add to that one. I don't know. I have no idea what I'm going to do. I might be able to add to that one. I think I have some aluminum tubing, but I don't think it's the right size. But I might be able to make something up. But I'm going to run his heater hoses. So when I run his heater hoses, I might get a MPT port and drill and weld it into the top of the radiator right here. Should be easy enough to weld right in the car. Shouldn't be an issue. So, and then I just have the slew of wires that I just got to go through and sort out, like this one here. This wire, as long as this wire is, I'm standing probably 3 feet away from the car. This was on those two relays right there. That was mounted on that hole and that hole there. There's no reason to do that. This literally runs right on top of runs right on top of those relays. You could have just taken it, even if you took it from right here where it was broken open, and brought it over. But I don't know. Then there's all the old factory stuff, you know, that who knows what it's for. This side's pretty ugly. So, and then they do stuff like this, where they just twist it and tape it, and you can literally see this wire moving. So, and that's for his headlights. So that's not good. And you could actually see the red one's broke. I just noticed that. There's half the strands, if not more, are broken, that cable. And this goes over to there, which then I think leads in the car. I'm not really sure. So I got to sort all of that stuff. This is the starter wire that they had the speaker cable attached to, which they stuffed wire in it. They stuffed wire in it, and then they stuffed the speaker cable next to it. You can kind of see how there's a little bit of a split in the two to make up the size of the butt connector. So I'm going to clip this wire off. I believe I have another wire, another purple wire like this, to probably gonna string it down along with the alternator wire, like the charge wire. I'm gonna string it down. This one came up, ran across the motor all the way over to that battery cable. So I'm gonna string it down so it's directly on the starter with the main battery cable, which I think I gotta change the lug on it. I don't know. I can't really see it that good, but might have to change the lug on it. But there it is. That little wire right there. Ooh, you come here. There it is. This is what they had to engage a starter. This is that speaker wire crap. And look at, there's like nothing in that, you know. It's junk. So yep, I'm gonna get everything. That's it for this one. Appreciate you watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified of new videos, and leave me a comment. Have a good day.